Hi, I'm Jemma. I'm the Courseware and Success Manager at My Learning Cloud, and I'm here today joined by
Phillip Freed. I'm the Director of Business. Oh, I've done it wrong already. My name is Phillip Freed, and I'm the Director of Operations and Business Development for the U Trust.
So me and Phil have worked together before, and we've come together today to talk to you about how to be CQC ready and how to get prepared for an inspection at any time. So we're going to go through some top tips. I say we. Phil is going to go through some of the top tips that he uses for his services. Phil, over to you.
Thank you very much, Gemma. I think the most important thing for any inspection is to make sure that you understand what you're being inspected against.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 5 Chloes, and they are safe, effective, caring, responsive, and well-led. And you need to know how you meet those. So ultimately, with safe, it is very, very simple. It is, are people protected from abuse and that are vulnerable from harm? With regards to effective, is your service providing effective care?
Mm-hmm.
Are your staff on time? Are you meeting the criteria of the support? With regards to caring, do your staff care? It is really simple. This stuff is not rocket science. And it's responsive. Are the services that you provide, are they responsive to the changing needs of the people you work with? And lastly, are they well led? Is that just not just in the moment with the management, but that's governance, that's audits, that's ensuring the work you're doing is being double checked and you went spot checked. And although that they are all equal with regards to importance, I don't think they're necessarily in an order for any particular reason, but I do think the fact that safe is first is the most important one.
Yeah, because without all the other ones below, you're not going to have a safe service.
Arguably, you can't be effective, caring, responsive, and well-led if you're not safe.
Yeah,
so
no, absolutely. And just for those who are joining us who may be starting up an unsure terminology, Chloe's, what are we?
Key lines of inquiry. You're testing me there. So they're the key lines of inquiry that the inspectors are going to essentially mark you against. The marking itself can be very not ambiguous, but it's a wide scope, and there are guidance and regulations that are all on the CQC website and easy to access that will show you what part of the Chloe that they want to look at and how they're going to mark you against it. And the regulations are all numbered, and they're very, very simple, easy to reference.
Good. Okay, so when would you be notified? Are you notified? Because I think a lot of people would expect literally a knock on the door and panic, but that's not always, it can be, but it's not always the case.
It depends what type of service that you're running. If you've got a registered service and there is a 24-hour presence in the service, then you will get people just turn up.
Yeah.
If you've got a service where you're providing support, if you're a supported living service, or it's a service where you're doing domiciliary care or floating support, then you normally get a couple of days' notice. So those are the services that I've managed. I say that I had a phone call one Thursday to say that we were getting an inspection on a Sunday morning. Okay. So they can happen at weekends. They're not designed to catch you out, but they want you to be ready with everything you need.
Yeah.
At any time.
I think it's understanding that we're not trying to achieve a state of grandeur for the people turning up. We're expecting to keep that all the time.
Absolutely.
So actually, in theory, in the real world, what we want is to always be CQC ready, not because we're worried about an inspection, because that's the quality we want to be giving all the time.
One of my old managers said to me, when you have an inspection, there's an inspection coming, get your best china out. And my argument was my best china is always there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's understanding, isn't it, that I know it sounds a bit strange to say, but always being prepared and always looking to achieve outstanding good should be what you're doing. It shouldn't be a panic. We shouldn't be somebody getting risk assessments out and going, oh my goodness. No. We should have some monthly or regular check-ins that we do. Is there any advice that you can give for bits that we can do?
Well, yes, there is. There's lots. I think one of the things I just wanted to pick up on something you just said there about the panic that sets in. I think it's absolutely right and proper that when you find out you've got an incoming inspection, that there is a momentary sense of, it could be dread, it could be fear, it could be, oh, okay, here we go. But actually, I think that's healthy. I think if it's longer than a couple of minutes and, oh my God, I've not done this, then you need to look at those areas. Yeah. One of the things that you need to ensure you do is that you need to make sure that your policies and procedures are all reviewed and up to date. They are so important because they will be something that will be looked at. Even if they're not looked at in the inspection, there'll be something that will be expected to be sent on afterwards. And it's important that not only are they reviewed, but they're reviewed effectively. So they're reviewed with changes to legislation, they're reviewed to changes with national approaches and changes in local authority as well.
Absolutely. And obviously policies can be hosted on LMSs, as we well know here at My Learning Cloud. So it's also great that you've got that electronic signature now that's against it as
means
well.
that all the staff can instantly access it, read it, and it can be shown on their record that they've read it.
Exactly. I always talk about what I call the good old days, when you'd have the dog-eared bit of paper at the front in the little folder, and you're there trying to work out who's that signature from, because you haven't seen them for a while. So it's really nice that you can keep that record, and obviously you can upload them digitally, so it's a lot easier.
Absolutely. I actually do entirely predate electronic. I think when I first started working, we were just about starting to use Word regularly rather than re-photocopying the same sheet several times. And
showing your age.
Yeah, showing my age. And the change in digital advancement the digitisation agenda, but the change in digitisation in general for care has been absolutely transformative. It's enabled staff that are, especially staff that are outreach and floating support, to access documents, guidelines, procedures and messages remotely, and it's made a very difficult job a little bit easier.
Absolutely. And I think it's understanding that, isn't it? Because digital is something that scares some people, because it can go wrong, but the chances are against human error, it's not going to go wrong. And we can make notes as we go, and that can be shared with everyone. So I remember, when I used to be out in the field doing care, you wouldn't know what you were turning up to, but you could almost do a check of like where's this person up to today, and go in prepared rather than having to go into someone's home, read a file then. You knew everything you needed to know, risk assessments, etc., and you could update as you go. So I think that really helps with the whole safe environment and everything that we use in care.
So one of the other things that I think is very important with regards to an inspection, and it follows entirely from reviewing policies and procedures, is conducting internal audits. Now, it depends on the size of your organisation, depends how you're going to do this. And sometimes the smaller the organisation you have, the braver you need to be. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So I work for quite a large organisation, and we've got various different managers and different services that we will do peer quality audits. So a peer, another manager, will come and do a quality audit on my services. Excuse me. That shows another outside, and it might not even be someone in the same service user group. So it could be I've got a mental health manager coming to do a learning disability service. And that works really well because we've got about 20 managers in total that can go on a rota and can do different audits. Now, if you're in a small organisation where you might only be the only manager, you need to conduct internal audits, and how effective are they if you're auditing your own work? Now, you can audit your own work, and there's absolute validity in that. But actually, it might mean that you have to link in with other organisations. Other organisations that provide similar care, have open conversations with them and say, look, we're both of us at some point are going to have CQC. You're a relatively small organisation. We're a relatively small organisation. Let's have a conversation about how we can help each other out.
Yeah, a bit of a buddy up scheme almost.
Absolutely. And what we'll say is, even though we're a larger organisation, we still do that. Yeah. So I've worked with other organisations in the Portsmouth area to literally go and do a quality audit in their service. They have to be focused. Yeah, you're not. And I think the most important thing is, when you do any sort of audit, is you don't fish, you don't look for problems. No, you're not trying to trick people, because if there are things that need sorting out, they need sorting out, and that's part of what the audit's about, another set of eyes. So, and the way that you do that for any inspection, for any internal audit, is you gather your documentation. Yeah. You said earlier about making sure when you hear the alarm bells of CQC knocking on your door, get all the risk assessments out and sign them. All your risk assessments should be out and signed anyway. But what you can do is you can use the opportunity to get all your staff training records. You look at all your staff training records, which can be held online,
of course,
easily accessible, very clear as a percentage of what your staff team has got with regards to their training on certain aspects. So for me, I would be focusing on safeguarding, health and safety, infection control, medication management. Yeah. So if I just pulled those four up, I could see exactly on my staff team who's done what with regards to compliance and where the areas for development are. Then you've got the actual support you provide. So you've got the support plans, risk assessments, guidelines, positive behaviour support plans, all of those, and all the accompanying notes that go with those.
Yes.
All should be signed, all should be in date, but not only should they be in date, when you actually review them, put down what you review. Don't just write reviewed on this date. Actually put down. And if there's no changes, because there might not, you might be dealing with people, you might be working with people that have got enduring support that's going to be the same for a long time. You put that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is the thing, isn't it? It's being obvious when you're doing your work. I think especially in care, you're passionate about it, you love it, but also let's not pretend it's not busy, it's not hectic, it's not, you're sometimes there going, oh my gosh, you need to get the weekend covered, we need
email goes, your emails have got your teams going, telephones going, someone's knocking at the door, deliveries turned up,
and your team managers, and you've one of your team members there going, oh, can I have next week off? And you're like, help. But by setting these basic standards from the beginning, you're going to help yourself in the long run. Absolutely. So if you know that things are signed and things are done, kind of set that precedence from the beginning. Absolutely,
have a clear record of things for things like maintenance, things like incident reports, things like safeguarding alerts. Having a clear method, procedure, and process for those means that when you are up against it, because it's all going at the same time, you can take yourself out of it. You have a flow chart or a procedure to follow, and you follow it.
Exactly. I think technology, like we said earlier, really helps with that because, for example, NMSs, you can click for compliance, if you will. If someone walks in, you don't have to kind of go, is the training record up to date? Mm-hmm. It will be. That's the beauty of technology, and what it's bringing to the sector now is ease and live information rather than having to dig around and find stuff and update that spreadsheet. So it's nice to let go of all of those worries, and that gives you time to do all these bits we're talking about. So, embrace technology, I think, is one thing. But also, like you said, have some real clear monthly, maybe. Some things might be weekly, just to keep on top of. And if you're just ticking those off, then you'll never panic.
Absolutely.
You will still panic, but it should be that moment.
But it'll be a healthy panic.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than pull your hair out.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things, there are several other aspects that you've got to be ready for when and I think the key is it's not just about having an inspection, it's about having a registered service and having those responsibilities.
Yeah.
You need to make sure your staff are trained.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be trained in all of the mandatory training that your organisation needs, any bespoke training that your people that you work with require, and that could be training that is given by local health services. It can be nurses, it can be social workers, and all of that can be recorded on the LMS as well. So even though it's not a standard training course, it can all be recorded clearly.
Exactly, and it is about, we talk about continued professional development a lot, and that is really important in this sector. This sector can be hard to recruit to, as we know. Mm-hmm. So empowering your staff with extra knowledge and extra learning can be something that really makes them feel wanted and seen. So I think that's really important. Like you say, if you can document that, then CQC are going to see that you're well led, because you are making sure your staff are there and they are doing what they want because they want to be there.
Absolutely. I think there are other aspects of an inspection and a good service. I say good, but I mean outstanding. But you know what I mean by a good service is feedback from the people we support, feedback from their families, feedback from professionals, which you all know can be quite difficult to gather. But try, persevere, and you will get it. Yeah. And you show about improvements, or you look at the recommendations that are made by the feedback you've gathered, and you look at where you can make improvements. Or if you can't, clearly say why you can't do it.
Absolutely.
It could be a restriction on finances. It could be a restriction on various different things. Yeah. It could just be that it's not within it's not within the parameters of the support you can provide.
Absolutely. And don't forget, staff will be a massive part of this as well.
Absolutely.
At the front of everything, is who we support in our services. So depending on who we support will depend on how many team members you might have, depending on how big your service is. But your staff are at the heart of it. If you haven't got happy staff, you're going to have problems there on it. And also CQC are going to want to talk to them.
They absolutely are.
So I always, and I always went with the impression you don't want to start trying to solve stuff because CQC are coming. You want happy staff throughout, because that will definitely, in terms of effective and caring, they're going to be what push that and drive that, because they're so pivotal, and recruitment is so difficult. We know that. So really invest in them, and you'll get much more. And
I think the important thing there is happy is a really good word to use, and unfortunately it can be quite difficult, especially with some of the barriers and some of the difficulties we've got just living at the moment. Yeah. But I think one of the things that you can get from staff is an investment, because you give them the opportunity to invest in the service. So when a new procedure or a new guideline or a new approach and support needs to happen, You work with the staff to create that. When there's a new PBS plan, the staff have to create that. The manager often won't know what to do anyway in that case, because they might be the trained professional in PBS lead, but the actual day-to-day support will be carried out by the staff. It's so important that they invest in the support that they're receiving. I mean, another thing that's important to do, and you can do this with the staff team as well, is look at past inspection reports.
Okay,
So look at inspection. We all look at your past inspection report. It's always useful. But also look at all of the areas. I did an exercise when we knew we had although we didn't have a date, we knew we had at some point we were going to get an inspection, and we looked at all of the care homes and support providers in the area that got outstanding and all the ones that requires improvement.
Okay.
Just to see where we fit in that. And it was really useful. It was really useful to see what inspectors were looking for. Because I think we all know what bad support looks like. That's really easy. But actually good support and outstanding is quite subjective once you get past a certain level of delivery.
And obviously who you support as well, because we're talking about different people, and sadly some people that we support are, it's easy to support them, they're willing, they're engaging, but also it can be quite tricky when you have people that you support who might put up barriers to receiving that support, and it feel like you're, fighting against it, and actually you're still providing very good support. So it's making sure you're confident in what you're doing and what you're pushing out there.
The key to that is there's an expectation, however that expectation has been written down, whether it's with the service user, with the family member, with the social worker, with the commissioner, that expectation is written down. You show how you're going to achieve that, then you deliver what you're going to achieve, and then you measure it. And it's really simple. And if it's not working, you adapt it. Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things as well is that CQC aren't going to come out and try and catch you out. They're not there to, like we said before, almost trick you. They want to make sure that we're all providing what we say we're providing. And if not, then they obviously, they published it. People can see it. It's a transparent way of conducting these quality audits. So it's important to remember that and actually speak to the inspector when they're there. Don't fear them. They're not there to try and mark you down. And if you ask them a question, tea and cake does help. But ask them, their experiences, talk to them, because remember, they're the ones going out and doing it. So they're actually a tool within themselves when they come to you. They're not trying to trick you. If you ask them a question, they're not going to be like, why didn't they know that? They want to make sure that but the level of service just everywhere is higher.
One of the things I'll say on that as well is, and it sort of brings it to sort of like the inspection itself, is there are two things that you need to make sure that you do when you have your inspection. And I'm not suggesting that anyone's not doing it, but you need to demonstrate continuous improvement. It's not just a case of we've identified this problem and this is what it is. It's we've identified this problem. We've known about this. We know about this problem. It's happening because of this, and this is our plan to get it right. Yeah. It could be a long-term plan. It could be something. It could be a couple of days. It could be a couple of months. It could be 12 months, depending on what the issue is. You've got to have a proactive approach. If you go to an inspection knowing that you've got maybe a deficit somewhere, you don't go saying, oh, we've not done this. What you say is, oh, we've not done this, but this is our plan to get us in the right place in the X amount of time. And the most important thing is be honest. Yeah. If you know that you have not done something, or you know that there's a certain part that needs to be addressed, just come and just say it straight away. Don't say it straight away. Say it as part of the conversation.
Say not.
Yeah, we've not signed a risk assessment. So don't say like that.
But no, I think being honest is part of it, isn't it? Because if you try and, I say hide it, you wouldn't, but you try and push them around maybe certain bits. And like you say, actually, we're all human. We're all trying our best. That is what they're looking for. And by trying our best, we will be solution focused.
Absolutely.
There's this problem. And also, they know that every solution you try isn't going to work.
And they also know that if they check a file and there are a couple of signatures missing, yes, you may well be kicking yourself, but they're not going to suddenly just fail you because of that. But if every single folder hasn't got that, then that shows a problem and shows a trend, isn't it?
Exactly. I think that's the thing. It goes back to that consistency and actually having a couple of points that you do monthly or weekly, auditing yourself, and then, like you say, buddy up, or depending on your organisation size, and just help each other.
And one of the biggest resources for that as well is the CQC website. Go and make sure you sign up to the newsletter, get the updates, review the regulations, make sure that when there's changes, you know how the notifications work, make sure you've got your notifications, any that you send, they will have them when they come to do your inspection. They will know what you've sent, but make sure you're prepared for those as well.
Absolutely. And I think it's knowledge. It sounds very simple, but knowledge is power. Know what you're doing, be confident in what you're doing, and you're going to be okay. They're going to see the hard work that you're putting in.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Phil, it's been a pleasure as always.
Always, Gemma, thank you.
And obviously, if you want to watch us back at any time, we'll be sending out the link to you guys. And if you've got any questions, just get in touch.
Good luck. Good luck with your inspections.
Good luck. We'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.